Hello and welcome to a fuller episode of The Bull. Tara and I are on a break, but we won't leave you hanging. We'll bring you a special Q&A episode. Right, Tara? First question. Why does Parliament feel so useless when we have so many issues on the ground?
Because people don't understand how Parliament works. That is the genuine answer. I think, especially as the podcast has evolved, a lot of people, have started engaging on social media, and people will type things in the comments, and I will read them, and I'll be like, you actually don't understand how the government works. And I think there's a large discrepancy in that. I think that civic education and public participation is extremely low, but I do think that it is also on the individual to understand. I mean, someone commented on one of the videos saying, a parliament isn't an institution. Yes, it is. Google the definition of institution. People think that Cyril sits in Parliament. No, he doesn't. Different branch of government. And so there are basic things like that in which I think, not to be a political snob, but at what point do we say you as a citizen should know your rights and know how government works and functions?
One of the worst things to hear and to read is someone saying, I wasn't taught that in school.
Yeah.
Plenty of what I know, what I use to analyze the world in this country, I wasn't taught in school, and I went to the library and I picked up a book. But at the same time, we cannot also excuse that civics, yes, it's part of LO, a form of civic education, but it's simply not enough. We don't have sufficient voter education come election time. How many people knew that we would be given 3 ballot papers in the 2024 provincial and general election? So while I guess it's people's responsibility to educate themselves, but people are busy, they're running lives, they're raising children, they're spending an inordinate amount of time in public transport to get to work. When do you have time to educate yourself?
I think it begs the question, people are going to find the time for the things that they want to find time for. There are many hours in a day, and there rightfully are many things that an individual needs to do on a daily basis. But do you want to be interested in what is going on in the country? Do you want to be informed? And do you want to know how you can actively play a role? If the answer is yes, you will take the initiative to inform yourself.
Okay, so to the question, is Parliament useless?
No. Parliament is one of the most functioning, organized, I'm not biased because I work there, segments of government, branches of government rather, let me be correct. And I don't think that it's useless, and I think that if the public knew a lot more about Parliament and really took the initiative to comment on the bills, to watch committee, to engage with what is going on in the legislature, they would gain a greater insight into South Africa and its current problems.
Okay, what's your question?
Given the fact that the union buildings are in Pretoria, do you think that Parliament should move to Joburg? I mean, the National Assembly famously, or infamously rather, burnt down. They're busy building it now. I mean, they got us in a dome in a parking lot. Do you think we should move to Joburg?
So remember, I think it was in his final State of the Nation address, Jacob Zuma said that there would be a study established to relocate Parliament to Pretoria. On the question, should Parliament move to Pretoria, or at least in Gauteng? Yes and no. Yes, because a decentralized 3 branches of government is a burden on a tax base.
Yeah.
We essentially have to duplicate everything. So we need a ministerial office in the executive headquarters in Pretoria, and we need one at the legislative headquarters. We give and we bestow housing on ministers, so you need a home in Pretoria and you need a home in Cape Town. You have protectors who are assigned to you, but you would have protectors in Gauteng, which would cover then the northern part, or the north and eastern part of the country, and then you have a team here in the Western Cape and the southern and the western part of the country. So everything is duplicated. And how do we cut those costs in half? We centralize government in one general regional location, probably in Gauteng. But in order to do so, we're going to have to build a new parliament. We're going to have to build a new parliamentary precinct. We're going to have to build a new parliamentary village, because remember, we have 400 MPs and 90 delegates of the NCOP who leave their hometowns, provinces, to travel to a parliament. You need to put them in some form of accommodation. You need to buy the land. You need to assess that land. You need to make sure that it's actually conducive to locate a new parliament. In our current fiscal standing, we can't afford that. The next 5 years, the next 10 years, 15, 20, we're not going to be able to afford that. And that is why I say yes and no. But there's also an emotive reason for why I probably think Parliament should stay in Cape Town. It's all part of the 1910 Union of South Africa compromise, in that the different branches of the South African government, still then under the control of the British, is that you'd have the executive at the union buildings, you'd have the judiciary in Bloemfontein, and you'd have Parliament in Cape Town. So it brought together the two Boer republics, Natal and the Cape Province, together as one. Symbolically, we're sharing power across the country. So that is how it has stayed. Post 1994, you could argue, well, we're a new country. We don't need that. But I think there's something to say about our current politics and why the Western Cape and Cape Town is still important, particularly when we talk about how the Western Cape performs compared to other parts, and whether the Western Cape is South Africa. And that if there was a decision and money found to say in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we are relocating Parliament to Gauteng, what is there that keeps the Western Cape and Cape Town invested in South Africa? I think that Cape secession is dead in the water. It's not going to happen. It's a pipe dream. And I don't know what people are smoking. But in terms of Cape Townians and Western Cape citizens investing in Project Democracy South Africa, if you were to move the one thing that connects Cape Town, the rest of the country, to Gauteng, there's very little that's left here. And then you end up driving the Western Cape and the Cape Town further and further away. And then the Cape then ends up isolating itself. So politically, it wouldn't make sense, part of a democratic project, to say, nix it, we're moving everything to Gauteng. You?
I don't think the Parliament should move, mainly because I don't want to move. That's point number one. But point number two, travel is inevitable. And when you think about it, Parliament, I mean, they're going on recess now from the 28th of July to the 14th of September. Parliament then goes on another longer recess period at the end of the year, from about around the 15th of December up until the beginning of February. In between that, we have constituency weeks when MPs aren't at Parliament. So when you look at the amount of time that they spend in Parliament, I don't think that there is enough of a reason to have everything and the entire setup and system as it is now based in Cape Town moved to Joburg, because MPs are still going to have to travel. They live across the country. The accessibility point is a point of contention, because a lot of MPs do originally come from Joburg, they originally come from Pretoria, the executive offices are there. There's a lot of fluidity, especially with the staffers. I mean, staffers have double offices, both in Pretoria and here in Cape Town. And yes, there is an occurring cost, but I don't think that moving to Joburg is going to solve massively what the issues that we face now. And I think that there are many benefits to having Parliament in Cape Town, and I like living in Cape Town. So.
And politicians like coming.
And politicians like coming to Cape Town.
I remember there was a time around the Cape Town International Jazz Festival that the ANC would in fact schedule an NEC meeting to fall across that meeting that weekend so that ANC NEC members could be in Cape Town.
I mean, even over the
Festival.
December period, I mean, to get an Airbnb in Cape Town is extremely expensive, and MPs use their parliamentary housing over December, even though Parliament is on recess, to stay here in December before, like, if they want to come on holiday with their family. You're laughing, but it's true.
Okay. Why do MPs get paid so much while youth unemployment is so high?
Hot take, and I know this might sound a little insensitive given the current cost of living crisis and the fact that unemployment and youth unemployment is so high. MPs aren't rich. Like, in my personal opinion, I think given the fact that they have to maintain livelihoods in two cities, they're taxed at 40% like the ordinary South African, and given the amount of hours and work they do, like, if you really had to work out how much an MP makes per hour, they're working class South African citizens and civil servants, as they should be. Is South Africa in a massive cost of living crisis? Absolutely. Is earning R1 million a month as a normal MP someone's dream? Yes. But the sacrifices and really, if you had to work it out to what they earn per hour, I don't think that they're living these lavish lifestyles.
We also have to take into consideration that if you earn more than 10,000 Rand as a household income, you're in the top 10% of this country. So that's to put in perspective the gross income inequality in this country. So in terms of a upper middle class family, R1 million a month cost to company income, yes, it gets you by as a upper middle class income family, but compared to more than half of South Africa who's on the poverty line, it is a difference. But in 2020, the late DA MP, Belinda Bazoli, she did something that was very, very brave. She was part of a conversation, or she responded to a conversation on the website formerly known as Twitter, saying the MPs are millionaires. She posted her payslip online, and her argument was, I'm a public representative, I need people to see. And yes, this was in 2020. Since then, I think MP salaries have maybe gone up, 4-5%. But this is what Belinda Bazoli, who was a DA backbencher in 2020, earned. So, a total earning of 79,000. Included in that was a non-pensionable salary of 10,000 Rand. It was a salary of 45,000 Rand. It was a parliamentary allowance of 10,000 Rand. It was a parliamentary car allowance of 10,000 Rand. But there was also a non-taxed component. So a cost to company of about 79,000, let's round it up, 80,000 Rand a month. When it comes to deductions, so PARMED is the parliamentary medical aid. My sums are correct here. Probably about 6,000 Rand deducted for PARMED, 4,000 Rand as part of a pension contribution, voluntary tax of 3,000 Rand, and then a pay as you earn of about 16,000 Rand. So from that 80,000 Rand, I'm rounding up now, from 80,000 Rand, 30,000 taken as deductibles. So an MP like Belinda Bazoli in 2020 went home with a net pay of 48,900 Rand. And if you take all that into consideration, it is an upper middle management salary.
And if you had to adjust for inflation, right now, that would probably be 70,000 Rand. And that's not a lot of money when you think about the fact that you need to live between two homes. Yes, a lot of travel is covered by Parliament, but oftentimes MPs will also have to book their own flights if something goes wrong. They need to go home for an emergency. There's other costs that will come up that they can't account for. You know where the real money draining problem is. It is not Parliament. This is a hill I will die on. If people want to attack wasteful public expenditure, go to the executive. Do you know how much money they earn?
Wait, before you go on, let me save you before the comment says, what does she mean 70,000 is not a lot of money?
Okay,
We're
yes.
talking from a perspective of a middle class, maybe dual income household.
In which
I'm saving you here.
Yes, please, before the comment section attacks me again. When you think about what in the South African public mind they think MPs are earning, they would easily say, you know what, an MP walks away with 2 million rand net. It's like, no, it's only 70,000. If we really, and that's just normal MPs. Yes, committee chairs earn a bit more. The salaries in the executive branch, it is bloated. Bloated to an extent that I'm just like shocked. Researchers in the executive make triple what researchers in Parliament make. Staffers in the executive easily make double what staffers in Parliament make. The salaries in the executive branch, it is, and there's so many people who work in exec to the point where I just can't even imagine it. Where, you know, every DDG has a chief of staff who has a public relations manager, who has a comms person, who has an MLO, who has a PLO, who has a whatever acronym they're coming up with now. There's so many people who work in these departments. And you know what? Running a department is a robust exercise. You need people and you need staffers. But also when you look at the staffer perks that they get in exec, it is insane. They don't get medical aid. They're not on PARMED. They get cell phone allowances. They get suit allowances. Suit allowances. This is a thing. So when you start the job, like you can apply because if you need a suit, because they go to a lot of conferences. There's just so many things that they get in exec that I'm just like, my friends who work there, I'm just like, I wish I had your job. But I would have moved to Pretoria.
But then the argument is, but you get free accommodation. Look, there's a discretionary fee for the parliamentary accommodation.
Yeah, it's like 7 grand a month.
Yes, at Acacia Park and Pelican Park, and there's another park, Laboria Park. These are mansions. These are prefabricated. Imagine you went to a caravan park.
Exactly what it looks like.
Imagine you went to a caravan park and there was a nice prefabbed cottage. That is what a parliamentary
It's social housing for politicians.
It's social housing.
It's social housing for politicians. Like, guys, and this is what I think people think. Look, some ministerial homes are really nice.
Oh, yes.
Ministerial homes are really
lovely. The ministerial villages are below Philip Hosanna leaving the Cape Town CBD. You may see one there. There are also a couple of ministers who live on the Groote Skeer estate, where the president and the deputy president's home is. The president doesn't live there when he's in Cape Town. The president goes and lives in Freyne.
Yep. So the ministerial homes are really nice. Guys, like occasionally, this is why I feel so bad, because people love to hate on Parliament and they're always like, these members of Parliament attack the executive. That is my ultimate sentiment. Is if you really want to attack wasteful public spending, it is not in Parliament. It is, we don't get enough money. That's actually truly how I feel. I do think that more money could be spent on Parliament and the way Parliament functions. The executive is just bleeding money left, right and centre.
But you get free meals when you're at Parliament.
Okay, yes and no. So there is food at Parliament, like in committee. There's always tea, coffee, like breakfast, like snacks. When you go to the canteen, a lot of it is subsidised. And yeah, like there are a lot of like free meals.
The argument is on why parliamentary meals are catered, I have heard, is that they don't want to waste time. That they don't want MPs leaving the parliamentary precinct, and that let's just get it done. Let's have a finger breakfast, finger luncheon, and then we get on with committee work. Yes,
I do think that is a big argument for it. I also think because when you look at an MP's schedule, sometimes you will sit in committee for 5 hours at a time. Committees often run overtime, especially when it comes to staffers. You are there in the early hours in the morning, you leave in the early hours of the evening. There is very much an extensive role that you play, and I think the idea is that they also want to keep you in Parliament for longer so you can do more work. As many like these big tech companies who will give you free food at work. I mean, that's another reason why they want to keep you in the office longer so you do more work. And I don't think that it's a massive line item in the budget when it comes to feeding MPs. I don't think that is where most of the money is going. We have another question from a listener that wants to know, what bars are the best around the parliamentary precinct? So, I mean, we have different generations to this answer.
We have different generations, but also different industries. I am part of a journalistic parliamentary caucus. We are generally blue-collar, hard-working guys, or the guys that I hung out with. So there were two, the Stag Inn in Hope Street.
Okay. Is it still open?
Still open. And the Kimberley Hotel on the corner of Buitenkant and Ruland Street.
Never been to either of those.
The Kimberley is also home to the legendary Party Like a Journalist parties that we haven't had since COVID, so we should probably bring that back. But yes, I have been regular to find a haunt primarily at the Kimberley Hotel.
Okay. The basic parliamentary answer is Urban Oasis. So that's like right opposite Parliament. Like if you walk out of that turnstile by the Marx building and you just walk straight, Urban Oasis is right there. People go there for breakfast, lunch, like their omelets are really good in the morning, can confirm. My go-to is the chicken tenders and fries. Get that all the time. The problem is Urban Oasis closes at 9. So if we're doing like a late night, yours truly is where you will find the staffers. Our go-to is cherry ale. Have you ever had?
No.
It's like Jack Black beer. It's really good.
That's why I go to the Kimberley. They don't sell cherry ale.
Cherry ale, it's our favorite thing to get. Yours truly infamously is not a karaoke bar, but they do play music, and we have sung out loud one too many times.
MPs?
The Taj. That's a good. You will find MPs at Urban Oasis though, but I mean I'm not privy to where they go after hours.
We used to call Cubana the caucus.
Yes.
I haven't been to the Cubana on the foreshore, but I remember spending many a post-budget or post-Sona at the caucus room, Cubana in Greenpoint. Yeah. Are they going to bring back the parliamentary bar?
They will. I do think in the I mean, I haven't seen the plans for the new kind of like dome shape that they have going on there.
Parliamentary bar? Yes, there is a parliamentary bar.
There's a lot about Parliament I think people don't know. There's a parliamentary rugby league. Fun fact. The public can't go and watch the Parliamentary Rugby League. I know there's
because they play at Acacia Park.
They do play at Acacia. I mean, my friend so staffers are also allowed to join these leagues. My friend plays on the Parliamentary Rugby team, and he has a game coming up. They're playing against when the Australian Parliament people visit. There's like a big game, and we're all going to go. So those are like fun things that they have in Parliament. And you'll also find that because of the nature of the work that you do and how many hours you spend, you just automatically make friends with people who are there.
The rules of the parliamentary bar were that you had to be invited by an MP. I've been in the parliamentary bar twice, and I had state subsidized, very cheap gin and tonics. And that's it for another episode of The Bull. We're back next week for another filler episode while the show takes a little break. Bye-bye.
Bye.